Do you feel unseen or unheard in your family? You speak, but no one listens. You share your heart, but it's dismissed. Like your words fall on deaf ears, like as if you don't have a voice at all. Or maybe your family has chosen to believe what others have said about you instead of what you have said about yourself. Do you feel like the odd one out? Like you just don't belong? You love your family, but deep down you know you're different. You think differently, you feel deeply, and they just don't seem to get you. Your siblings connect really well with each other or even with their friends, but they are unable to connect with you and you feel left out. Have you ever been rejected even when you did nothing wrong? You showed love, stayed kind, and tried your best, but were always misunderstood. You faced judgment, comparison, and even distance for no fault of yours. Did your parents ever make you feel like they didn't have time for you? They were present but not emotionally available. They provided for you, but they never really knew you. You wish they'd have asked you, "How are you doing?" Not about your grades or your achievements, but about your heart. Have you ever felt like your family doesn't respect your boundaries or privacy? You set limits, but they take it as rebellion. You try to open up, and your words are used against you. And when you try to pull away to protect your peace, you are now the problem. If this is how you feel about your family, then this video is for you. My name is Maurice, and you're watching My Treasure the What. So, over the years, many people have come to us and shared their stories about how they've felt rejection from their family, and they've asked us all of these questions. And so, in today's video, I'm going to be answering all of your questions about rejection from family. And so, without wasting any more of your time, let's get started. I know it can feel really confusing when love feels so conditional. Rejection from family has a way of shaping us and molding us into the people that we become. So let's look at how does rejection from family affect the different areas of our life. The first thing is an identity and self-worth issue. When those closest to you reject you, it can lead to you questioning your own value as a person. You might start thinking, maybe there is something wrong with me, or why am I never enough? Over time, this leads to a low self esteem or a distorted self image, and you start defining yourself based on other people's opinion rather than what God says about you. Second, emotional and mental struggles. Rejection often brings anxiety and overthinking, depression or withdrawal, a deep sense of loneliness, and even a numbing of our emotions. You might suppress your emotions to the point where you claim that you are not an emotional person, that you can't connect with your emotions, or you can't relate to another emotional person just so you can protect your heart from being hurt all over again. Third, difficulty in trusting or connecting with others. If you have been rejected by your family or those close to you, you may have subconsciously started building walls all around you. You might fear new relationships, expect rejection even before it happens, or start pushing people away who are genuinely trying to love you. And your fear of closeness has a tendency to block the healing that comes from genuine relationships. Fourth, people pleasing and overcompensation. Many people who have faced rejection try to earn love through performance. You might overgive just to be accepted. You might struggle to say no. And you might even feel guilty just for prioritizing yourself. And as a result, this has a tendency to drain your energy, leaving you unseen and unappreciated. Fifth, lack of faith in God. Family rejection can often lead to us doubting God's goodness. The most classic question would be, if He truly is good, then why did He let this happen? But in reality, this painful experience just exposes that our identity is rooted in human approval rather than God's love and His approval of us. So, now that we've understood how rejection shapes us, let's look at some of the reasons why our families might reject us, either intentionally or unintentionally. Now, when we think about family rejection, it's very easy to think that they must be intimidated by me or they must be jealous of me. While that may be true, most of the time it isn't. In fact, mostly the reasons are more human, more tender, and more complex. And it's very important to understand the root cause of what is causing your family to behave the way that it does. Now, that doesn't negate the pain that their rejection causes you, but it does help to understand. So, over here, I have an image of a tree. The tree is to represent your family. The roots are the causes of why they reject you. The trunk is the pain or the struggles or whatever challenge they are facing. The branches are their behavior towards you, and the fruit is the effect on you. The rejection that you face is the fruit. So, as you can see, this is not like a normal tree, it is bearing multiple fruits, meaning it's bearing a lot of fruits that it shouldn't bear. So, the first root is insecurity and comparison. Family rejection often comes from insecurity. Not because you're superior or that you're shining brightly. On the contrary, the people you love may be struggling with the feeling that they are not enough. And your personality and the way you're growing may touch them in that place that is still wounded and fragile. Not because you're too confident, but because they may still be learning confidence. Not because you're spiritually strong, but because they may feel distant from God. Not because you're doing well, but because they may feel stuck. Comparison doesn't begin with envy, it begins with fear. Fear of failing, fear of disappointing, fear of not measuring up. Your presence might unintentionally be reminding them of a version of themselves they wish they could be, or a version of themselves that they used to be. Not because you're perfect, but because they are hurting. And it's important to understand this because then their rejection begins to look less like an attack and more like a cry for help. The second root is generational pain. Most family rejection isn't personal, it's generational. People grow from the place they were wounded. Siblings relate from the emotional tools they were given. Adults carry childhood pain into new relationships. When your parents or siblings treat you with distance, harshness, or indifference, it's rarely because of something you did. It's often because they are repeating what they learned when they were young. A father who never heard "I'm proud of you" doesn't know how to say it. A mother who grew up suppressing and hiding her emotions doesn't know how to understand yours. A sibling who grew up always feeling second best doesn't know how to celebrate your victories. Their rejection of you isn't proof that you are unlovable, it is proof that they never learned to love without fear. And when you understand this, you will stop seeing them as villains. On the contrary, you will see them as people carrying burdens they never asked for. The third root is control and expectation. Families often have a certain expectation of us. They might expect you to play a certain role or choose a particular path or live a certain way. But when you grow and you choose your own path and you play a different role altogether or you do your own thing, this can cause them to feel unstable. Not because you're wrong, but because they are afraid of the unknown. People who crave predictability often see change as a threat. So, when you set boundaries, choose a different career, grow spiritually, mature emotionally, it may feel to them like you're leaving them behind. And it's not rebellion to them, it's more of a feeling of loss, like they're losing you. Rejection is oftentimes a defensive reflex. It's a way of holding on to what feels familiar. Understanding this helps us soften our response because when we realize that their reaction is not rooted in pride but on the contrary, it is rooted in the fear of losing you the way they knew you. The fourth root is miscommunication and emotional immaturity. Some families aren't rejecting you because they don't care for you. On the contrary, they're rejecting you because they don't know how to care for you the way you need to be cared for. Emotional maturity is not automatic. Many adults never learned how to apologize, how to listen without defensiveness, how to validate feelings, how to communicate gently, how to be vulnerable, and how to handle differences without shutting down. So, when you express pain, they hear accusation. When you ask for boundaries, they feel abandoned. When you open up honestly, they feel overwhelmed. Their reaction is not hatred, it is their lack of the emotional tools. This does not remove the pain that you are feeling, but it helps you to understand them better without placing yourself above them. You're not asking for too much, you're just asking for something that they never learned, which is healthy connection. So now that you know how rejection shapes you and the root causes of why your family treats you the way that it does, what do you do with this information? Where do you go from here? How do you proceed in life? Well, this is where God comes into the picture. So the first thing would be to invite God into your situation. Invite the Father, Son, and Spirit into that deep, dark place of your heart to shine their light and bring healing to that painful place where you feel rejection, where you feel the hurt of being rejected. And over there, begin to heal. Share your pain with the Holy Spirit. Talk to Him. Find safe people, either within the home or outside. People you know who you can trust, who will not only give you a ear but also try to understand you. Share, get it off your chest. Or if you can't find safe people, then journal. Write your thoughts in a book. Pour out your heart onto a book. Just get that heaviness off of your chest. Give it to Jesus and begin to heal. Because you can't really operate or function to that absolute level that God has created you to when you're bleeding out, when you're leaking. So you're expected to operate from a place of overflow. So let the Holy Spirit fill you with His presence, with His love, His grace, that joy that only can be found in Him, peace that surpasses understanding. Let Him fill you with the fruits of the Spirit and all of those things. Let him fill you with that. But if your bucket has holes, you're just going to leak, you're just going to drain out. And you cannot pour onto others living waters when you're being drained out. So first, take that time out with God and heal. Let your vessel be fixed completely. Let yourself be filled with the love of the Father. So when you're ready, when you're healed, when all the holes are fixed and you're filled with the presence of God and you're operating out of overflow, then love on your family. Show them all the grace, all the forgiveness, all the understanding. And I pray that amazing things will happen in your life. Well, that's all I have for you today. I hope you were blessed by what I shared. And if you enjoyed this video, then do let me know in the comments. If you want to understand how to overcome rejection in love and the feeling that comes from being rejected from a certain romantic interest, then we made a video addressing that very issue. There should be a link for that video at the top right corner of the screen. I'll make sure to mention the link in the description as well. And if you're new around here, please do subscribe to the channel. And I will see you again in the next video. Bye.